Based on the material presented in the 6 modules of this course, it is clear that volcano monitoring should preferably be done using a number of different types of instruments, including those that can measure earthquakes, ground deformation, and volcanic gas. Knowing the past eruption history of a volcano and its geological context also greatly helps when trying to put the present activity of a volcano into context and evaluate what may happen in the future. We have not covered studies of temperature changes and associated variations in geothermal activity, but these are important as well. The arrival of new magma in volcano roots can cause significant changes in this respect. This figure shows the ice-capped Öræfajökull volcano in Iceland, where unrest began at the end of 2016. The highest part of the volcano is an ice-filled caldera, and the ice depression within it is an ice cauldron that formed in fall 2007. The likely explanation is change in geothermal activity related to inflow of magma towards shallow depth. This figure here shows some of the seismic and geodetic signatures of volcano unrest. Signals can include increased number of both high and low frequency earthquakes. Panel A shows high frequency event with hypocenter inside the Katla caldera in Iceland, and panel B shows a low frequency event with hypocenter west of the Katla caldera. Panel C shows examples of how hundreds of earthquakes may occur per day in a critical unrest situation, shown here in a so-called drum plot of earthquake activity, displaying 24 hours of seismicity at Katla volcano. This is actual 24-hour data on 29 to 30th of September 2016 that occurred during a critical unrest period. However, activity died out without any further activity. Even if unrest signals are strong, they do not necessarily lead to an eruption. Panel D shows GPS time series of horizontal displacement component from high-rate GPS analysis, that is 1 sample per second, at Grímsvötn volcano, revealing significant displacement prior to onset of 2011 eruption. Such signals can be interpreted together with seismicity to reveal the final ascent of magma towards the surface. Panel E shows INSAR time series of unwrapped line-of-sight displacement, that is, the change in centimeter from a previous image, showing ground deformation due to an evolving intrusion in 2009 at the Eyjafjallajökull volcano. These are some of the examples of what unrest signals may look like. Monitoring should include combined use of instruments on the ground and in satellites, and we have presented many examples of these in the course. More and more observations can be carried out by satellites, and the importance of these is likely to continue to increase in the future. But there is one type of indicator of volcano unrest that cannot be measured by satellites. That is volcano seismicity. We have learned that most seismicity during volcano unrest is small magnitude, but there can be many earthquakes. This can tell where crust is being stressed above failure limit, often in relation to inflow of new magma. Thus, seismicity is very important to detect the onset of renewed magma flow into volcano roots. Data from one seismometer, if placed on a volcano, can tell if earthquakes are happening at the volcano or close to it, by measuring the difference between P and S waves. However, earthquakes cannot be located with a single seismometer. The preferable level of seismic monitoring on volcano requires therefore at least 3 seismometers that can detect the volcano activity to ensure earthquakes can be located. The sensitivity depends on how high priority volcano monitoring has. In most cases, this is linked to the question of how many people live on a volcano or would be influenced by a future eruption. Onset of unrest at a volcano means it is time for special awareness, and often there is need to reinforce monitoring if possible, to understand well if activity escalates. Sudden increase in the level of activity during a period of unrest may signify that a magma-filled crack has started to propagate in the surface, or the conduit of a volcano is opening up. This may relate to the final ascent of magma towards the surface, but can also be related to the formation of a new intrusion that will not make it to the surface. This is what has been used in Iceland to give short-term warnings prior to eruptions. These are really warnings of magma front propagating in the ground. This aspect is well documented in the lecture by Páll Einarsson in Module 1 on short-term warnings. Volcanic gas observations, as covered in Module 3, are important and growing part of any volcano monitoring strategy and should be considered as a key element in any monitoring network. Ground deformation, measurements and models are covered in Module 2 and 4. How important are such studies in the global respect? Let's look at a summary study from Juliet Biggs and colleagues on the use of INSAR and volcano deformation in a global respect. The maps on the left here show locations of 1,390 named magmatic systems in the Global Volcano Database. The map in Panel A shows published satellite studies. The map in Panel B shows volcanic eruptions in the Global Volcano Database during the satellite area with filled red triangles. And the map in Panel C shows 165 filled green triangles with location of published reports of deformation, including uplift, subsidence, flow compaction, edifice instabilities, and all phases of the eruptive cycle. From this compilation, the results shown in the figure on the right were found. The figure is a contingency table linking volcanoes that deformed and erupted. The table has 4 categories as shown, depending on if the volcano deformed and/or erupted, the 4 possible combinations of these. The table reports the number of occurrences in each category shown out of the 198 systematically observed volcanoes over 18 years. We see that a non-deforming volcano is not likely to erupt, in line with the observations we have presented in this course. Volcano that is deforming may erupt, but it is not certain. That is the reason why we need multi-parameter observations and joint interpretation of different signs of unrest. In the previous graph, the timing of deformation was not taken into account, and it is not in all cases that detected significant deformation precedes eruption. This figure here shows what the study of Juliet Biggs and colleagues found in this respect. The figure shows the relative timing of deformation and eruptions for volcanoes, where both deformation measured by INSAR and eruptions are recorded, and more than 3 years of observations are available. Volcanoes with persistent lava lakes, continuous effusion, or eruptions more than once per 2 to 3 years are excluded, as continuous ground-based data are more appropriate in these cases. Red bars indicate deformation, black bars indicate no deformation, and no bars indicate that observation is not reported. Volcano name and the year of eruption is given to the left of the figure. It shows 13 volcanoes that deformed continuously throughout their eruptive cycle, and further 16 where observations began during or after the eruption. We see, in any case, that the reported onset of deformation prior to eruption is very variable. Eyjafjallajökull volcano is unique in this compilation, in that it shows multiple short pulses of uplift, 2 of which did not end in an eruption within a year, and 1 that did. Time periods during which no deformation occurred, the black bars, are rarely reported explicitly. The lack of such null deformation observations can hamper our possibilities to correctly understand how volcano recharge occurs. There is still a lot to be done in terms of more observations. Research like summarized here, giving a global overview in this case from INSAR, are steadily improving with more and better observations. Such results and the combined interpretation of multi-parameter observations of volcano unrest and eruptions are likely to steadily advance our understanding of how volcanoes work. We are likely to see major progress in coming years.